Good morning to everyone. This is a new Dhamma talk. In this occasion, I will read the Majjhima Nikaya number 61. Is the teaching to Rahula. The Buddha is teaching to Rahula, and this is a sutta that for me is very care because I included in my book the Happy Dhamma, and it's talk about the precepts and how uh, the precepts are the foundation of our practice, and the follow the precept give us the opportunity to have a very settled and tranquil mind without remorse, and this foster the possibility to make the meditation easier. I always talk with my student that the Buddha not only teach meditation, but these four aspects. The first one is precept, the other is generosity, then meditation, and finally wisdom. So I want to share with you. So I use for this talk the translation of Bhikkhu Sujato, his advice to Rahula, and the discourse is Majjhima Nikaya number 61. So I heard at one time the Buddha was staying near Rashagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel feeding ground. Now at the time Venerable Rahula was staying in Ambalatthika. Then in the late afternoon the Buddha came out of retreat and went to Ambalatthika to see Venerable Rahula. Rahula saw the Buddha coming off in the distance. He spread out the seat and placed water for washing his feet. The Buddha sat on the seat spread out and washed his feet. Rahula bowed to the Buddha and sat down to one side. Then the Buddha, leaving a little water in the pot, addressed Rahula. Rahula, do you see this little bit of water left in the pot? Yes, sir. That's how little of ascetic nature is left in those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. So we find here with the third precept, do not tell lies, deliberately tell lies, do not have gross speak, do not harsh speak, sorry, uh, do not have small talk or slander or make gossip. It's very important, this third precept, and I think in the modern world is the more difficult because we talk a lot, and most of the time we are not aware of what we're saying, and also we're not aware about the intention that we put behind our words. So this is a very important step of the path because we talk all day with our friends, family, work, and so on. And this is also the precept related to the noble path. We have to remember that the first step is the right view, that is essentially remember that all things are conditioned and we have the cause and effect. So this brings us the second step, that's right intention. That is be the intention to be secluded, uh, the intention of non-ill will and the intentions of non-cruelty. And this brings us the third step, that is here, do not speak lies. So if I am aware of the first step, that is remember that anything that I do will have consequences, anything that I speak have consequence, anything that I intend have consequence. This brings me to the second step. I have to be aware of gentle or loving intention, and then my words will out of my mouth without intention, with that intention. So if someone, in this case, speak willingly a lie, this is the advice to Rahula. Do you see this little bit of water? Well, that is the ascetic nature that is left in those who are not ashamed or tell a deliberate lie. So here the word shame, here and in the next passage, is we have to be ashamed in this case to tell a lie. And shame here means that we have to be aware that a lie bring us pain, mental pain, and of course we bring pain to the other, to our environment too. And then the Buddha said, then the Buddha, tossing away what little water was left in the pot, said Rahula, do you see this little of water that was tossed away? Yes, sir. That's how the ascetic's nature is tossed away in those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. So, if you have a very, very little nature ascetic in you, when you have already tell a lie and you continue with that behavior, you're going to toss away your ascetic nature, your seclusion nature. And here, the second step of the Noble Path, being seclusion, means be your own island, being observing moment by moment to moment, your own mind. So this is the reclusion. The reclusion is have been mindful of what's going on in our mind all the time. It's it's a hard practice. I mean, you have to be very aware of this. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So our intention and our state of mind are really important because with this uh, mindset, we act in the world with speech and with actions. Then the Buddha turned the pot upside down, said to Rahula, do you see how this pot is vacant and hollow? Yes, sir. This is how vacant and hollow the ascetic nature is in those who are ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. So, this is again a third step that all that came from the mouth of the person who are the habit to lie is hollow and meaningless. So here start the simile. Suppose there was a royal bull elephant with tusks like chariot poles, able to draw a heavy load, pedigree, and battle hardened. In battle, it is used its 4 feet and hind feet, its forequarters and hindquarters, its head, ears, tusks, and tail, but still protects his trunk. So its rider thinks this royal bull elephant still protects its trunk. It has not yet given its life. But when the royal bull elephant in battle uses its 4 feet and hind feet, its forequarters and hindquarters, its head, ears, tusk, and tail, and its trunk, its rider thinks this royal bull elephant in battle uses its 4 feet and hind feet, its forequarters and hindquarters, its head, ear, tusks, and tail, and trunk, and its trunks. It has given its life. Now where there is nothing that royal bull elephant would not do. In the same way, when someone is not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie, there is no bad deed they would not do, I say. So you should train like this. I will not tell a lie even for a joke. Well, this simile is very strong. Uh, the Buddha several times is very radical in his images. Yeah, I think that in this case is that we have to take in consideration this feeling of shame because behind that shame, behind that shame, we can reflect on our sayings, deeds, and thoughts. And this reflection is not for the purpose of arise guilt in our mind. The guilt is not useful unless we change our habit or we change our perspective. I have many students that they feel guilty about some habit that they have. Sometimes is stay with their cell phone a lot of time during the day instead of meditate, and this bring a guilt. I should meditate instead to see the phone, but this is not the proper attitude, because is the field leads to you to a practical change. So there is a very good way that a very good possibility that we change our habit, but is this guilt is just slash on our back again and again, and yeah, I am continue with that uh, bad habit. Is not the way to let go our habitual tendencies. So we have to understand that when we have a bad habit, especially when we broke a preset, we have to take a pause, recognize how our mind is at that moment, release the thought. The content of the thought is not important. We relax, we allow us to a small smile manifest in our face, and we return to our object of meditation, to our metta, loving kindness. And we stay with that loving kindness. If we are in the meditation, we stay with our loving kindness. If we are in our daily activities, maybe we can just stop what we are doing and instead at least 1 minute with that feel of loving kindness. And then with that mind, we can decide if we are continue to do that activity or that speech or not. So, I give sometime this kind of advice to the student. Take maybe use your cell phone to put some alarms during the day, maybe six or seven alarms during the day, and when the alarms sound, take a pause and stay with your loving kindness 1 minute, and then continue with your practice, continue with whatever you are doing. So in this case, the is if someone is not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie, there is nobody that they would not do. Why is this? Because when we lied, generally we have to continue to lie to sustain the first lie. And probably, probably, we this lie maybe is hidden a deceive to our partner, friend, or maybe we have take some money that is not ours, so we're steal. And I think that in the worst cases, maybe we have killed someone, or maybe we have someone we have hurt physically. And I think that is the extremely case. And maybe we have to lie about it for because we don't want to face the consequence of our deeds. So the Buddha gives this strong advice: I will not tell a lie even for a joke. What is the important thing about the lie? The most important thing that when we start to have the habit to lie, we cannot trust in our mind. Because when I tell a lie, I build uh, an illusory world. The world is illusion, of course, but when I tell a lie, I build a different reality. And when the time pass, and I have to remember what I said to a person, I don't can recall what was the reality and what was the lie. And this is if we are have the habit to lie again and again, generally we have to start to lost our memory and lost our awareness, and we have to start to don't trust in anyone, and especially we don't trust in ourselves because our mind is very confused. So the habit of lies is really something that bring a lot of harm to ourselves, to our mind. We have to remember that the Buddha always give the advice that a mind that was developed is a powerful tool, and especially is something that we could trust. We can trust in a mind that was developed in meditation and follow the precept, and that it was generous. So, what do you think, Rahula? What is the purpose of a mirror? It's for checking your reflection, sir. In the same way, deeds of body, speech, and mind should be done only after repeated checking. When you want to act with body, you should check on that same deed. That is act with the body that I want to lead to hurting myself, hurting other, or hurting both. It is unskillful with suffering as its outcome and result. If, while checking in this way, this act with the body that I want to do leads to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's unskillful with suffering and its outcome and result. To the best of your ability, Rahula, you should do not such a deed. But if, while checking in this way, this act with the body that I want to do doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting other, or hurting both, it's skillful with happiness as its outcome and result, then Rahula, you should do such a deed. Well, it's very clear, this instruction. Um, Although it's not easy, because we are not used to reflect uh, on what we are, in this case, we are do with our body, action with our body. So the Buddha gives a very simple advice. If you reflection with a reflecting mind, you see that the action uh, that you do with your body leads to no harming for yourself, for others, or both, and have happiness as its outcome, then we should repeat that deed. We should do that deed, and maybe we can repeat it because it's a good deed. It's a good act that brings us more um, lucidity, more mindful, more mindfulness. Yes, and I think that this kind of deed helps to regain our mindful or develop. Sorry, our mindful. While you're acting with the body, you should check on the same act. Does this act with the body that I am doing lead to hurting myself, hurting other, or hurting both? It is unskillful with suffering and its come and result. If while checking in this way, this act with the body that I am doing leads to hurting myself, hurting other, or hurting both, it's unskillful with suffering as its outcome and result. Then Rahula, you should desist from such deed, or but if while checking in this way, that this act of the body that I am doing doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both. It's skillful with happiness as its outcome and result. Then Rahula, you should continue doing such a deed. Well, the first, the previous, sorry, the previous paragraph is uh, talking about does this act with the body that I want to do is make a reflection for the future. See, yes, and I have to reflect previously. In this paragraph, the Buddha said, okay, I want to do this act, and while I am doing this action, I have to reflect again. Is this something that is skillful and lead to happiness or not? And this is the second um, aspect of reflection that give us the certainty that we are doing at that moment is a good thing, is a skillful thing to do. After you act with the body, you should check on the same act. Does this act with the body that I done lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both? Is it unskillful with suffering as its outcome and result? If, while checking in this way, you know this act with the body that I have done leads to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's unskillful with suffering as its outcome and result, then Rahula, you should confess, reveal, and clarify such a deed to the teacher or a sensible spiritual companion. And having revealed it, you should train yourself in future. But if, while taking in this way, you know, this act with the body that I have done doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's skillful with happiness as its outcome and result, then Rahula, you should live in rapture and joy because of this and training day and night in skillful qualities. So, in this last paragraph, the Buddha again exhorts us to reflect on what we have done regarding, in this case, the body action. And if we came to realize that what we have done is unskillful and bring us suffering to our companions, family, co-workers, etc. Here the Buddha gives the advice to Rahula, you should confess, reveal, and clarify such a deed with a teacher or a sensible spiritual companion. In the case we are lay people, so maybe we have to confess or tell about this action to some sensible spiritual companion, maybe our teacher too, because here the word confession is, uh, and of course the precept too, doesn't have the the same characteristic that the Christian uh, commandment. Here the precepts and the confession, it's only to bring us mindfulness again to our mind. This have to do to be more aware of what we are have in our mind, what we do with mind, speech, and body. So when we tell someone about something that we did, maybe break a precept, at that moment, maybe the feeling of shame arise in our mind, and we, in this way, can bring us some deeper reflection about that we are performing action. We are not bad people. We are not. Uh, we have to be very clear that we have, in this case, performed a bad action. But if I reflect on it in a very wise way, and maybe here a sensible spiritual companion, maybe, or our teacher, help us to reflect on it, and we apply the 6 R's, we recognize that we have done is not good, we just let it go, we're not overthinking about it, we relax, we smile, and bring our mind to our object of meditation, to a metta or karuna, whatever, we're going to start to feel a relief, and we can also to forgive ourselves about that actions. The forgiveness is very important because give us more space in our mind, give us relief, and give us the necessary openness to see the actions that we did in a different perspective. This perspective is not take personally what we have done. It's just help us to recognize that we are not we we were we weren't aware about our mindset at the moment when we performed that action. So the aim to the preset is to help us to develop a mindfulness, to remember to observe how mind attentions move from one object to the other and recognize where is our mind in every moment. And the last part of this paragraph, the Buddha said, then Rahula is this act with the body that I have done doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both. It's skillful. So it brings us happiness and have this happiness as outcome and result. Then Rahula, you should live in rapture and joy because of this, training day and night in skillful qualities. Then the Buddha gave us this instruction. If we reflect that our action bring us uh, happiness and joy, we can repeat that action. Uh, Following the precept bring us joy and relief. Be generous too. And we have to train these qualities, skillful qualities, day and night. Then the sutta continues as when you want to act with speech, you should check on that same deed. Does this act of speech that I want to lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both? Uh, if while checking in this way, you know the act of speech that I have done leads to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's skillful with suffering and its outcome and result, then Rahula, you should confess, reveal, and clarify such a deed to the teacher or a sensitive spiritual companion, and having revealed it, you should train yourself in future. But if while checking in this way, you know this act of speech that I have done doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's skillful with happiness and its outcome and result. Then Rahula, you should live in rapture and joy because of this training day and night in skillful qualities. In this case, the Buddha is talking about the same thing, but in this case, it's about talking about the speech. So we have to think about first before speech, during the speech, and after the speech. And this is the main theme in the first part of the sutta. Uh, the speech is very, very, very an important thing in our daily life. So if we recognize that our mind is full of loving kindness, imbued of loving kindness, and we speak with that intention, even if, for example, I said something to my son or my friend or my wife with my mind imbued of loving kindness, and this person doesn't take uh, my words in a good way, maybe uh, this person has a bad reaction. Because I am aware of my state of mind, I could say, all right, I'm sorry, maybe it's not the moment to talk about this, but if you want to talk about this later, I'm open to it. So when I have my mind with the loving kindness, my mind is really flexible. And at that moment, I don't have an attachment to my opinion or what I want to say. It's just to say, I want to say this with a very good intention, very loving intention. I want with that speech trying to uh, create some bridges between me and the other person and help the other person to maybe uh, resolve some issue. But maybe the other person is angry or very close to what I want to say. So I could step back and accept that the other person doesn't want to hear me at that moment. But in my mind, there is no reaction to that. So the loving kindness help us to give us the space and also the equanimity to accept that I just speak with love, but maybe it's not the right time. And finally, the Buddha gave us the last advice, the last instruction. When you want to act with the mind, you should check on the same deed. That this act of mind that I want to do lead to hurting myself, hurting other, or hurting both. If while checking in this way, you know this act of mind that I have leads to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's unskillful with suffering as its outcome and result. Then, Rahula, you should be horrified, repelled, and disgusted by that deed. And being repelled, you should restrain yourself in your future. But if, while checking in this way, you know, this act with the mind that I have done doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both, it's skillful with happiness as its outcome and result. Then, Rahula, you should live in rapture and joy because of this, training day and night in skillful qualities. So, this last advice is regarding our intention. And this is really is the really important thing because our speech and actions is rooted in our mindset, in our intention. So this is the important thing of our training. This is the important thing why we should train us in meditation, because the mind is the forerunner of everything. So we have to remember that. And mindfulness is remember how mind attention moves from one object to the other. This brings us the memory that we always are witnessing this movement, and we don't have to take this movement as personal. It's just a move, it's just a condition that arises at the present moment because due to previous conditions. So if in our mind some hurtful intention or bad intention arises, we have to immediately recognize, let it go, relax, smile, and bring our mind to our object of meditation. Uh, Again, here the Buddha expressed in a very firm way, and being repelled, you should restrain yourself in the future. You should be horrified, repelled, and disgusted by that deed. So we have to see that this deed did by the mind, this intention, uh, it will bring us painful feelings. So this also is have this root in the law of karma. But when our mind is rooted in loving kindness, in compassion, and in seclusion, all our mind states will be very benefit for ourselves, for the others. So the Buddha finished this sermon. All the ascetics and Brahmins of the past, future, and present who purify their physical, verbal, and mental action do so after repeatedly checking. So, Rahula, you should train yourself like this. I will purify my physical, verbal, and mental actions after repeatedly checking. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, Venerable Rahula approved what the Buddha said. So, this last instruction is what is purifier. Simply apply the right effort, the 6 R's. When we are aware that in our mind are wandering or arise some hindrances, we have to recognize, let it go, relax, smile, and return to our object of meditation. So, in this, if we repeatedly do this and again and again, our mind will be gradually be purified. But this uh, right effort, this continue, if we continue practicing like this, we eventually we going to start to feel a deeper relief. And the reason that we feel that deeper relief is because our mind is has less and less hindrances, and our mindful will grow, and we are start to feel that the hindrances are easier to let go. Our identification with any kind of hindrances will be less and less. And this is the starting point to develop our mind, the precepts. So this is the important reason why the precepts are the ground of our practice. No one will be, no, there is no God or there is no someone who will going to our punish us if we have a bad deed, if we break up some precept. But we are feel remorse, and we start to going to feel that our mind is, I don't know if in English exists this word, rumiate, like a cow, chewing and chewing. And the other day I came across with this word fermentation, because this kind of deed, when we break a precept, is like a fermentation in the mind, bring again to our consciousness, and again, and feel remorse. And this is when we then want to meditate and we are sitting, the mind start to pop up this kind of thoughts again and again, and it's very tiresome. So this is why it's so important to follow the precept and also have a good behavior regarding the sensual pleasure, because it's give us the possibility to when we sit down on meditation, that our mind easily let it go the hindrances, and this bring us more balance for our mind and more uh, collectedness. So um, let's share some merit. uh, uh, uh. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kind of happiness. May beings inhabiting space on earth Devas and Nagas of mighty powers share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much, and I see you in the next talk.